Welcome to Sam Outside. I'm Sam and I'm outside. I'm spending a little time with one of my favorite plants, the mullein. Yeah, this plant is something I look for mostly on my drives because it is found predominantly in what we know as disturbed soils, right? It loves drainage, doesn't mind having dry feet, but it won't grow in sort of what we would call like a meadow or someplace where we're going to find other wildflowers. Um, it is a roadside weed, as some people know it. Otherwise, construction sites, right? If you're driving through an industrial area, you're probably going to see this. Now, this is late fall, so the stalks, well, they're not flowering as predominantly, but there's so many benefits to knowing about this plant, and if you can, preparing it for your own uses. So the mullein, it's a biannual, which means it takes 2 years to complete its growth cycle. So in its first year, it doesn't grow this enormous stalk. It'll actually be very close to the ground. Its leaves can be easily identified by 6 to 8 inch broad leaves, and they're very fuzzy. Some people might mistake it for a lamb's ear, but that first year, it's putting all of its energy into its root. So the root has its own uses and has its own method of preparation, but it's here in the stalk, and so here we are with a nice green stalk. And of course we've got this giant spike that's here at the top. So this is the flowering portion of the plant. You can see that it's got, just the last of its flowers. The flowers only last for 1 day. And after they've been pollinated, right, the petals will actually drop off, and then we'll have the seed cluster form. Each one of those clusters can have hundreds of seeds. So over the course of a season with, hundreds of capsules containing hundreds of seeds, when you get a plant this size, literally thousands of seeds, and they're just so small. And again, they have their own uses. We'll talk more about that in a moment. It's the leaves, on the stalk. Now, when I'm looking at these leaves, some of them are going to be more beneficial for me to harvest than others. What it's known for, when you're talking about the leaf, when you're talking about a mullein tea, it's an expectorant, right? So talking about the mucus production of our lungs, our lung health. So as a tea, when we're preparing this, let them dry out. So if you've got a dehydrator, putting on a medium for 4 to 6 hours, you don't have a dehydrator, put them in your oven at the lowest heat setting for a couple hours there again. But you're going to want to separate the leaf, and the way you do that is, if you want it to dry out a little quicker, separate it along the spine, and that really helps just draw out the moisture. And you're looking for leaves that are all green. If there's any brown patches, just take that part off or don't use that leaf. When you're actually ready to have the tea, I recommend just not putting it loose leaf in there, because there's these very fine hairs, right? There's a chance that they could irritate the throat. So I prefer putting them either in a press, or if we can, put them in an actual like reusable or closable tea bag, right? So that'll capture all the little fine particles, and then what you're getting are the medicines out of your tincture or your infusion, right? So the tea. So predominantly for lung. Now the flowers, all right? The flower itself has another unique healing property, and that's more associated with ear health. So if you've got ear pain, earaches, putting those flower petals inside an oil, something as simple as olive oil, and putting it in there for a while, making it a tincture, and that is specifically used for soothing earaches. Now, that's when the plant is its second year, right? So the seeds specifically, they were harvested because they're what's known as a piscicide. Piscicide, Pisces, associated with the zodiac sign of fish. All right, so piscicide, meaning that it is used traditionally for stunning, even killing populations of fish. It's still used today by ministries of natural resources and fisheries if they're looking to eradicate or manage invasive fish species, right? So they'll take the seed, dry them out, grind them, make a powder, and then put it in the water. It stuns, and it can actually, in its concentrated form, kill fish. Right. So traditionally might have been used as a form of fishing. It's actually legal if caught used as a form of fishing, but used by authorities who have the right to do so. It is used in in management. So we can see here there's still a couple flowers left. Right. So I'm a little late in the season for harvesting it for making an infusion or for an oil, but the seeds, right, not much use to me because I'm not interested in fish management, but the leaves, right, I can still harvest those and use those for making a tea later on in the season. Now the root, this is where I'm too late. The first year plant, growing in a rosette, no stalk, low to the ground. Its leaves are about half the size. All of its energy in that first year is going into its root development. That taproot just goes deep, 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 and it'll have smaller roots that grow out for stability, but it's that taproot. So the first year plant, that one is recommended to harvest all of them, because you want the second year plants for, for ear and lung. But the first year plant, the root is extracted and prepared in a tincture. That's known for helping with lower back pain, specifically more the sciatic nerve, right? So if you have some people who are suffering with inflammation, right? So root inflammation, the leaves congestion, and then when we get into the flowers, that's for your ear, right? So many benefits. And I will come back late fall, early winter, deep winter even, in this stalk, having dropped all of its leaves, then makes, because of its growth habit being extremely straight, it's actually quite hardy. And when it's dried for a couple of weeks, it'll make a great walking stick. What's different about the walking stick for the melon stalk is that it's very light. All right, so it won't take any bending, but for straight up and down motion, if you're wanting something that's a little bit lighter but still reliable, then you have the mullein stalk. So it's got some very unique features because of the way the growth comes out. Leave it bark on, prepare it. Sometimes the root actually has a nice little knurl, so you can make a walking stick. Otherwise, rather than a cane, the walking stick just for the straight pole. Look forward to making another video about that, which I prepare one of these stalks. They will grow well over 6 feet tall, right? So there are a number of different species. They are not native to North America. In fact, they were introduced, but so successfully in the 1700s that by the time biologists and herbologists were documenting what species they were finding in the early 1800s, it was so prolific that it was just assumed to be a native species. In fact, it's not. So we've been using the mullein for thousands of years. And again, Roman soldiers would take the dried stalk and use that as a torch. Just dip that big spike into some tallow or some oil, and because of its mass and because of its dry capacity, and because you had something light which you could then hold up rather than something made of wood to be a little bit heavier, a little bit cumbersome, requiring it to be a little shorter, wouldn't make as efficient a torch. So the lightness and strength of that dried stalk with that big, thick, dense seed pod on the top, excellent as a torch. So easy to find. Nothing else really grows like it. So many uses, so many benefits. Start with a tea, go from there as an expectorant. And if you can find the flowers, harvest them right time of year, make yourself a tincture, olive oil for ear pain. And if you find that first season, that rosette, without taking all of them, because you want that second year plant, go ahead and make yourself something for your lower back pain and your sciatic. All right? Don't forget about the walking stick. I hope that helps. Thanks for spending time with me. Appreciate you. I'll talk to you again soon.